GM, and by GM, I mean good afternoon if you're on the East Coast and good night if you're in Europe. Welcome to the DeFi State, a weekly show brought to you by Hashflow. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicole Benham, the host of this show and head of community for Hashflow. If you've been here, you know this, but on this show, we bring in notable speakers, founders, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and generally the brightest minds in the industry to discuss what the future of decentralization will look like. My favorite part about this show is that every guest is so different and has such different insights on DeFi, Web3, NFTs, and the world in general. So if you're eager to learn, if you're eager to expand your mind, you are in the right place. Also, if you'd like to share this space with your friends, you can click on the arrow at the top right of this space, copy the link, tweet it out to your feed, text it to your friends, whatever works. We have our CEO, Varun, here with us, and today we have our special guest, OhhShiny, one of the most prolific names in the NFT space, one of my favorite accounts to follow on Twitter. And I know you're on break from it, host of the OhhShiny show. We also have Ronan, founder of Creator XYZ, and another one of my favorite accounts to follow, and one of the people who actually encouraged me to get into NFTs. So welcome, guys. What's up? How are you?
I think Ronan and I are sort of like a nice cookie and some milk, where I don't expect that he'll be there, but all of a sudden I get there and it's better with him. So Ronan, it's a nice surprise that you're in the room with me today. Also, I just want to say, Nicole, I didn't realize I was walking into a nightclub. It felt like I was raving.
Oh my God.
So those are nice vibes to wake up to. And Varun, great to be here. Thank you all so much for having me. Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a sabbatical. I've been resting this voice from the OhhShiny show, but I just really feel like we're at a moment in time where it's important to speak. It's important to get together, to bring people together, to educate on what's going on in the space, and to make sure we're supporting each other. So really happy to be here.
Amazing. That was actually my first question because I know you took a hiatus, but what have you been working on recently?
I thought your first question was going to be like, "Are you happy to be here, OhhShiny?"
No, I knew. I already set the vibe with the music, so
we can hear it in your voice.
That's how my voice always sounds. You want to know the funniest thing is going from this Twitterverse to the physical world to me and saying, "Wait a second, I recognize your voice." It's like they don't even look at me anymore. Everybody, I'm a human. You have to. My eyes are up here. No, it's really funny.
I've hung out with you in person, and I'm still quite skeptical that you're a human.
I was expecting you to show up with your, I was really thought you were an NFT avatar, until I saw you. I'm like, oh wait, he's actually a real person. so I like him even more.
So I'm sorry, Nicole. What was the question?
No, the question is, what have you been working on recently?
Well, my attention is split right now into two main places. One of them is a new marketplace that I've been working on for the last really 3 years. It started as an incubation, just as an idea. It's called Aqua, and it focuses on gaming specifically. Right now, you go to a marketplace, and especially if you don't know this space, what the heck are you looking at? You have these JPEGs in front of you. You know that they're NFTs, but you have no context. How do I use them? What are they good for? What are they good with? And I realized, of course, I've been in this space for over 5 years now. And when I first started, it was gaming that was just being experimented on. And I'm a big gamer. That's, my background in terms of my passion, gaming and art. And so as I saw marketplaces started to develop, I thought, okay, well, they lack a little bit of context, but for gamers, they lack a ton of context. Like, I really need information if I'm a gamer trying to buy a new asset for my character or my character itself, etc. So Aqua is a marketplace for gamers, and as blockchain gaming starts to expand, hopefully it will be the place to be to come and learn Yeah, and you can check it out now, aqua.xyz. So that's been a big focus of my time, and that is up and running now and has a team, and we're really, really excited about where that's going. And then on the other side of things, I'm an investor, and I'm always looking at what is coming next in the industry. And I'll tell you just quickly, my sentiment on that is constantly shifting, because of course you can have zero volume one day and Reddit NFTs the next, and things just move in this space very fluidly, and you have to stay on top of them. You have to understand sort of what's underneath these shifts. And I'll tell you that a year ago, I don't know how excited I was about the future of the space in terms of the actual projects I was seeing. I'm always looking 10, 20 years ahead saying, I know this is going to be a universe. But immediately in front of me, I was nervous because people weren't focused on helping other people. They were building crypto tools for the crypto native, for the long tail of liquidity, to unlock the 100th collector, the 100th degen. And that's not why I got into this space. I got into this space because in your browser, we have a whole bank that not only do you have access to, but is yours to own, just like your identity here. We have so many tools. And if we don't get them in front of people around the world, we're not going to be able to make those people realize they can actually be living better lives with these tools. That's why I got here. And over the last few months, I'm seeing a shift towards more simplicity and more practicality. As I think what happened is last year or a year and a half ago, the market was so high, everyone was excited. They were chasing the pot of gold right in front of them. But there were enough people to come in and mess around with crypto and this Web3 UI that they thought, oh, wow, this really isn't fun to use. Or, oh, my friend got scammed out of one of their favorite NFTs. Or, oh man, this Discord thing is a nightmare. And so now slowly, about a year later, we're seeing really practical new use cases, wallets that are simpler, block explorers that actually tell you what the heck is happening other than reading Solidity, community experiences, and I won't go into what Ronan is working on, but things that actually are innovations for people, as opposed to trying to unlock a little bit more liquidity or do another thing deep within crypto for crypto's sake.
Okay, wow, those are important observations. So I guess my next question is, when
But
and how?
before you go on, if it's all right, Nicole,
Go
something
ahead.
I love about what you said, Ben OhhShiny, is like if you think back to when like websites and the internet were new, it was exciting enough that someone had made a website about something. Like if you were into baseball cards or comic books or whatever you were into, some fan made a website somewhere. And it was actually thrilling and exciting to find that someone had made a website for this topic that you love. But then after a while, it kind of wasn't enough just that it was a website and websites are exciting. We started going to websites based on what we could do there. Can I talk to my friends? This website is listing all the issues of a comic or reviewing them. And so suddenly you had to like actually kind of, I don't want to say deliver or specialize, but the websites had to do something more than just the fact that if you remember, like just the fact that it was a website you liked was exciting. And so like, I think it feels similar transformation you're describing with NFTs and the websites that let us interact with them, which is, I think there was so much excited about what we can do with it, what the potential is, that everyone was excited just to like interact with it. But then maybe they had some bad experiences or, the market shifted, that now when there are things that have specific things we can do with our excitement or about our excitement, that's where things go rather than just being there.
Yeah, precisely. I would say it's this evolution from the generalized to the specialized, and you sort of touched on that. But when you start, even though when this space first started, like the EIP for NFTs was more about legal jargon. It was more about liens and wills, and those were the ideas around it. It was more about maybe we'd buy and sell real estate than it was about gaming. That's for sure. But there was a diversity of ideas as to what we can explore. But the space was small enough, and I say the space collectively, that word is indicative of something small, of something you can see, visualize. And right now, we're much past visualization. I mean, there are different parts of this industry that most people have no clue exist that might be thriving. And so it's our job now to become specialized with those things. How do we actually not call this crypto, not make it a blanket statement? What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to help? And how do we build context around that to bring it to the rest of the world? That's really what I'm interested in. And then one last point is, the crazy thing, Ronan, about what you're saying about finding a website with a specific theme is you could find the website. There were these directories called Google and Yahoo and Ask Jeeves. Do you know how to find a DAO today? Do you know how to find an NFT today? Do you know how to find a digital artist today who works in this space? Nothing. There is nowhere I can go to see in an aggregated way who is actually contributing to the ecosystem, who is contributing in their specific industries. And that's how early we are.
This is part of, it sounds like, what Aqua is doing with gaming NFTs, which is helping you find and use them specific to the criteria that is specific to gamers.
It needs to happen in every industry. It's all about selling the innovation. Gamers love to play games. How do we get them to understand that they're really fun games here? Yeah, of course, like, these games are more fun in part because they're empowered by you owning your own assets. But if I sell you on owning your own assets, you're not going to realize the game is fun. And that's the whole Web3 experience today. I go onto a website, and before I'm sold on whatever is in the website, a wallet pops up and hits me in the face. It's like, wait, I haven't even bought what you're selling. And now you're trying to sell me on this wallet connect. There's no way I'm connecting. And that's the user experience today. I don't want to get too off topic, Nicole.
No, that's not off topic at
No.
all. So who's actually disrupting the industry? Like, which tech, which products are actually disrupting the industry for its users? And then to take it one step further, how are we going to make NFTs relevant to the masses when these are the types of things that are happening?
I think that there's a lot of potential for disruption. And you could say that there is disruption within the very niche communities that are, DeFi users, NFT collectors, and all around just degens. But these are not the places that I believe is really important to focus on. But the disruption potential is there for every single industry that we see on a daily basis, people using this technology for. And it's really just about changing the design language and saying, how do I get this disruption? And, people use Top Shot as an example. I think Reddit most recently is a great example. I signed up for a Reddit account. I built my character. I didn't know it was a digital collectible. I didn't know it'd become an NFT. I'd be able to trade, etc. But it was a lot of fun building that digital character. And just by doing that, taking that one step, for the hundreds of millions of people that use Reddit, there's a little bit of disruption there because I'm thinking about my identity in a more robust way. And that is taking what was core to this industry, this, like, a very small community of a few thousand people who bought and sold and traded these JPEG PFPs. And now we're using it to disrupt. Now a company came in and said, this is how we change the language. It's a digital collectible. This is how we serve you the experience. It's seamless with your identity. It fits within the flow of how you operate, of how you like to contribute on our site. And that's what disruption is going to look like. And so we have to internally in this space figure out the words we're using, and are they primed for people outside of this space to go, okay, I actually see how this is useful to me, and I'm going to start using it. And that's what's going to cause a disruption. But asking me about really what's truly been disruptive thus far to a generalized population, we still have 500,000 NFT wallet holders, 600,000. That's a speck. So there's zero that's been disruptive. And I think it's really important to understand that. Like, we all have to face reality here. No one owns NFTs today. No one. And even though it's incredibly interesting, and no one is working with DeFi today, a couple million people, even though it's highly interesting and we all believe that there's that future, we can't brainwash ourselves into thinking we're there or even close to being there. Like, there's a lot that still needs to happen. Now, I'm really excited about that because I get to contribute. I get to build towards those goals. But we can't all make believe that this is happening in the next 6 months. It's happening in the next year. And it's not going to happen until we change the design language for other people to actually understand how disruptive this stuff can be.
Okay, that's very powerful. So in what ways do we need to change the language? And here's another question that I have, because I keep seeing people tweet about storytelling NFTs and how storytelling is going to help with this. What role does storytelling have here?
So, Nico, I wanted to add one more thing there. I had one more follow-up question as well. So I think another reason I enjoyed conversation previously with Ben and Ronan is about how we've been focused on simplifying things. Because what's interesting is while we have like a few million users in DeFi, there's a vast majority of people still don't know what's going on in the industry and how do we make things more consumer friendly so we unlock to the next million set of users or even more, right? So and I think building experiences that resonate with those people, including Nicole, what you just said around storytelling, which I think plays a really, really pivotal role in making the game engaging and so on. I think one of the follow-up questions I had though, OhhShiny, there is we talked about ownership, and I was curious to see as a gaming subset of population, how many of the gamers truly care about them owning everything, or is that the exciting point around them participating in the game, or is it much rather what the game is about that idea is more compelling than them owning certain aspects of it? Like, for example,
That's a good question. It depends on the game. Like, the ownership layer is already built into a lot of games. It's built into Pokemon. It's built into Magic the Gathering. It's built into CSGO. And I'm not talking about NFTs. I'm talking about, like, psychologically how you feel when you play these games. I walk into a game store today. I buy a pack of Pokemon cards. I own those cards. And actually, a lot of the joy that I've personally gotten from Pokemon cards in my younger years was owning them, looking at them, trading them with friends. And that is a piece of my core identity while I'm doing it. And that whole layer was removed when this went digital, when these applications were built online. And so building that back actually gives me the rights I used to have as a Pokemon collector, or any of these games that have collectibles built in that are actually a core piece of the game. I think it's really important to understand that people will take the smallest psychological jump they can to wherever the innovation is. Like, you don't want to make it too difficult. You don't want to make the jump too high. And there's so many attempts at, like, an MMORPG. And for those listening, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Those take 8 years. And you're going to add this peer-to-peer economy where there's like a real estate market and a commodities market. You're out of your mind. First off, even if you did that perfectly, I don't even know how to act in that. No one's experienced that before. And so I think, like, there are a lot of different games, right? There are a lot of different genres. And there are many that actually include collectibles ownership as a part of the identity of the player. And introducing that in a way that's actually sovereign to you, introducing that to a way that you actually feel like you own that identity, I think is just, a big plus, and will definitely be a real innovation to a lot of people.
I think I was rugged for a second there. Ronan, what do you think of all this?
It's funny because, like, hearing you talk about how all of the excitement we've seen, all the opportunity we felt, when you get down to it, is still like in NFTs and DeFi, 500,000 and a few million people, which is still like, a drop in the ocean of the population and society, and how that all of these technologies have a chance to grow much bigger and disrupt in much bigger ways when we make them both exciting to people, but also just understandable to people. It actually makes me think of protest movements, because not every protest movement becomes a mainstream cause, but pretty much every mainstream like political belief or movement started as a protest movement once upon a time. And if you look at the ones that succeed and become very popular, regardless of whether you believe in them or not, there's a different language that they use internally early on to radicalize their activists, and the language that they use later for like everyone to be able to engage with them and understand them, right? There's a language that gets people who are very passionate about a cause involved, and that language often excludes the general public, right? It forms a specialized community who feel connected because they're not the whole world, they're not the general population. They're special because of this passion and understanding that they share. And you can almost think of it like dominoes knocking each other down. You know, early crypto, I think the complexity of early crypto helped people who like complex things connect with each other through crypto. And then it knocks over the next domino, where NFTs let people who cared about, say, digital art or trading, knocked over the next domino. And the dominoes that are to come, as Ben describes, aren't going to be as general. They're going to be specialized for people who are passionate about different specific things, who maybe won't even need to understand what DeFi is or what NFTs are, but may be excited about this kind of game or that kind of game, who may be excited about this kind of art or that kind of art. And so the language as we talk about it to the general public, as these things become really popular as technologies, will probably look very different than the language we're using now. So I'm interested to watch that happen and watch how that plays out. And I think
it is already becoming so different. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, when I first got into Bitcoin in 2011, and I'd go to a Bitcoin meetup, I would lie about my name, I would lie about where I lived, I would lie about every aspect of my life, and that was a normal thing. Everyone else was lying about it also, because we were scared we were going to get hit over the head with a tire iron, and people were going to come and find us. And now, you know, over 10 years later, I go to an NFT event and I'm hugging everybody. And it's just amazing how this whole world has evolved. And with that, the language evolves. But it's happened so quick in some places that it's hard to take a step back and say, wait, we need to make that adjustment. There are people here that were
tire
alienated.
irons to hugs. The evolution of crypto.
And this happened, you know, in NFTs from 2017 to 2021, there was a total of $100 million of volume of sales. From 2020, January 1st, 2021 to now, tens of billions of dollars in volume, and hundreds of thousands of more people actually owning NFTs, and millions participating in DeFi, and hundreds of millions that know about these things. And so that transition from being very crypto-centric, from being very counterculture, now all of a sudden we actually don't realize that maintaining those positions are alienating all the additional eyeballs that have come to right here.
Exactly.
And so it's those people, that the next eyeballs, that outer ring of the hundreds of millions that are, their ears are perked up, that are listening but don't understand the words. Those are the people we're talking about here.
My favorite historical example of this is there's this great Steve Jobs talk from the Aspen Design Conference in 1982, where he's like talking for 15 minutes very eloquently about computers and why every American is going to buy a computer and he wants it to be an Apple computer. And he sounds so smart, but whenever I listen to it, he sounds dumb to me because I get to compare him to Steve Jobs 20 years later, who actually succeeded at getting everyone in America to buy an Apple computer. But instead of talking beautifully about computers to get people excited about computers, he just stopped calling them computers. He called them phones. And people were like, well, I already am going to buy a phone anyway, so I'll buy this one. And then they got this like supercomputer in their phone for free, basically. And so I think there's a similar thing here where I think the current generation, not in terms of like 15 years, but generation in terms of crypto cycles, of like crypto people were excited about the technology. And I think the next group, as you describe, are going to be people who may be happy to have the technology. It may be the bonus to them that they get excited about afterwards, but that's not why they're going to show up. They're going to show up for the things themselves that the technology enables.
I love that. You need to send me the link to that talk because now I'm curious and I need to watch it. The last question I have, because I know you're on a time crunch, is what exactly does it mean when people say create value? And also, we hear the word community a lot. What relevance do these words, value and community, have in this ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just an echo of the whole conversation, but it's a good question to end on because it's all about understanding who you're dealing with. It's all about going to the specialized. And, Varun, you mentioned, but storytelling, just like painting, are actually acts. They're ingredients in a final product. And we have to remember that these things don't stand on their own. They're packaged into a long line of methodical decisions that allow you to express to a third party an idea. And if that idea improves that third party's life, okay, then you've created value for them. And I think a lot of people, a lot of projects are getting lost in the middle. They're getting lost in the primitives. Like storytelling in and of itself does not do anything. It does not mean anything. That's one piece of the puzzle. You have to continue following that line. It has to be packaged within something that improves someone's life, that they can see actually how it works and want to use it. So I think we need to get away from this generalized sense of value, and then community means, and I think it's worth repeating, I say this, I haven't said it in a while because, I've been off of spaces and less on Twitter, but it's so different than what community used to mean in Web 2. And there are a lot of words that we use in this space that actually have completely different meanings than in any other context. And we sort of don't realize that. We gloss over it. Community in Web 2 were the 6 people that would comment on Coca-Cola's Instagram. And now they're the 4,000 people with over $1 billion of buying power at Bored Ape Yacht Club. They're the 300 million people that saw Reddit had new digital collectibles that they could use. And understanding that these are individuals that can contribute to that idea you're trying to express, that can help you in that journey, and that actually demand value in return, demand something for their ideas, or helping you on your journey with your ideas. Okay, well, that's really a different entity than what we previously thought of community. And none of these definitions are solid yet. We're still evolving. People are still utilizing other people in different contexts, figuring out how do we actually get to know them? How do we unlock what we need from them? How do they express what they're trying to express within the context of this project? Do we build the project together? Do we write a novel together? There's so many different ways people are utilizing other people. That's just incredible because now with this ecosystem, it's frictionless. And so we can try all these experiments. It's very easy to send someone back and forth a token and figure out, well, was that a good fit or not? So community is still a very much evolving word, but it certainly doesn't mean what it used to mean.
Thank you so much. I know you have to go. I'm going to keep Ronan and Varun on for 1 second because I know they both have insights on this. But OhhShiny, thank you so much for coming on. And for those of you who want to follow aqua.xyz, I pinned a tweet to the top of this space. You can just click on it and follow that account. And of course, follow OhhShiny as well. One of my favorite people on here. Thank you so much, OhhShiny, and thank you for coming to the club.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole and Varun. Appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you both again soon to remind you that there is, in fact, someone behind this PFP. And much love, Ronan, and everyone in this room. Thank you so much for listening. Talk soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers, man.
All right, Ronan, I'll go to you, and then I want to finish strong with Varun on how people are are creating value
It's
and
cool
what that
to,
means.
yeah, it's cool to have that conversation with y'all here because I feel like, obviously OhhShiny and Varun are two people who I place a lot of weight in the things they say. They're people who engage with, let's call it the like complexity and nuance of the technology, but are also very, very thoughtful about making things human and like simple and building what you're calling community, right? And I think they're both great at that. To me, the way that I see people creating value is it's weird. It's not turning off their voices that are critical, but not directing those criticisms at individuals. So when people are critical of a scene, again, to use the Steve Jobs example, he was famously very critical, but he applied that criticism to trying to make things better and make something that was more in line with what he thought could be better. So if you look at crypto and you feel critical of anything, that's your opportunity to add something that is missing. And you saw it with NFTs where for a while people would be like, oh, there's no space in NFTs. I don't see anything for this kind of art. And I would say, well, that means that that's your opportunity to bring that kind of art to NFTs and build community around that. And a lot of times that worked really well. So whatever you feel like is missing or is wrong, really that's you saying something that you could contribute, that you could make better, that you could do a better job of, and try it. It's just everything that we see in front of us is stuff that people tried in a small way, and then when it worked they stayed and supported it.
I love that. And with that, I'd like to go to Varun, who is building hash flow. And
Hello.
Varun, the one thing I want to say is that I love about this show is that you're always here with me, and you're like super involved in everything and getting to know people and making time for talking to your users. So there's that. But Varun, what's your take on creating value?
I think for me personally, I think it's been a journey, right? So when I started with crypto, you're like, I've resonated very much with the idea of decentralization and self sovereignty, and giving individuals the freedom to or basic freedom from the shackles of your fiat matrix, you can call it, right? But over time, as the space evolved, I think the goal, I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I think I made us a brief point about this earlier, is that DeFi is still pretty small, right? Even the NFT, while it looks big, once you step outside the bubble, like most people still do not know what the space is about, what's going on. They've heard about it slightly, hints here and there, but I don't think there is a way for most people to get involved in a way that is just really, really simple, which kind of takes me to the value creation. I think the key value thing where we can actually create value is to build the best possible retail or consumer facing platform to allow people to trade value, right? So and how do we get there is going to be the next big challenge for us, right? Because initially we started with the DEX, right, and we allowed people to swap assets, which is interesting. But then now, as we talk to more people, we realize that uh, there's still a lot of education that has to be there's still a lot of education that needs to be done, along with uh, the whole onboarding of a new set of users into the space. And I think all it boils down to is building cool UX or experiences, and how do you build uh, applications that allow for seamless onboarding of the next set of users, and not segment them as DeFi, NFT, and such, but basically abstracting things away. So for people, it just feels like a normal thing. Like it doesn't feel anything different than what they're used to, but at the same time, then you realize that you've been actually onboarded into this new space. It's kind of like what Renan said earlier about Steve Jobs and the computers.
I was just
Uh,
thinking that.
so, so, so it's like the whole concept of computers was abstracted away by the time it was all embedded into a telephone or mobile phone rather. So it's the idea of how do you build uh, your UX around the fact that most of this complexity is abstracted away from the user, so they can just simply use it as if they're just having breakfast, right? But at the same time, that they also finally can tap into the power of self-sovereignty and so on without actually thinking about those things as the fundamental primitives, right? So that's what I would think would be the core value creation, at least for us going forward.
Thank you, Varun. It's so funny because I entered the NFT space through Clubhouse, where I didn't know anything about NFTs, and then I met Ronan, who knew so much about NFTs, and I kept telling him, like, I don't understand this. How am I going to enter this space? And he's like, just do it. He's like, just do it. It's easy. What do you want to know? And he answered all my questions. And then I learned about DeFi from you, Varun, and because it was made, easy for me, simple for me to understand, that's what got me into it. So it's really cool to be on stage with you both.
Yeah, I was going to add there, because it's not like DeFi or TradFi or CeFi. These are all like jargons, right? At the end of the day, it's just finance and it's how you transfer value. Like everything else is just syntactic or sugar, right? Which doesn't quite matter for most people. So really, how do you make finance more accessible to anybody, right? That's really the common goal there. So everything else just becomes a subset of that, right? So that's kind of how I'm trying to think about it. Which is also, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But even when I would talk to you, you talked about DeFi in relation to TradFi so that I could understand it. But when I first heard about it and I started learning about it, I was very, very intimidated because the jargon was so technical, the way that it was being presented to me. So yeah, I mean, just Ronan, like, that was a really good analogy with Steve Jobs. So that's all I got to say. But this was a great episode. I loved it. Be sure to follow Ronan, one of the more important voices in our ecosystem, who truly understands what's happening and can present it in a simple way. And of course, Hashflow CEO Varun, who's here with me every single week, who's on stage. And of course, you want to be sure to follow Hashflow so that you can get updates for this space that we do every week on Thursday, usually at 9 a.m. PST, but sometimes, a guest can't make it at that time, and we'll adjust the timing. But thank you guys for being here. It's been amazing. I am grateful to host this show, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. See you next week.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Always awesome to talk with y'all.